Good morning, friends and family. Here we are in Philippians chapter 2. We're going over the sermon from this past Sunday about rejoicing in sacrifice. And kind of the big idea is that we work with God so that we can rejoice through all things, even in sacrifice. And the first point we have is that we work with God. Right? We work with God. God works in us. Verses 12 and 13 make this point. And then I'm going to talk about maybe 3 different points about that. And I want you to comment on those. So here's the text. Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, so now, not only in my presence, but more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Because it is God who works in you, both to will and to work for his good pleasure. And so three things to think about in this verse. The first one is that Paul, he commends them. It's like a commendation. He says, beloved, therefore beloved, and as you've always obeyed. So what Paul is doing is he's basing the command, which is going to come next, on the relationship they have, my beloved, on what Christ did for them, the therefore, and on their own character, as you've always obeyed. So he's looking at him, he's saying, guys, man, you're an amazing group of people. So, because of this, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And this is the command. So he commends them, and then he says, command, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And interesting, right? Because fear and trembling we don't think about as Christians, but we should. God is still God, and you're not, I'm not. And to stand in the presence of a holy, righteous God is a fearful thing. Think back to Isaiah chapter 6. Isaiah, when he saw God, and he realizes his sin, he says, woe is me. Think about most of the people in the Bible, when they see God, they fall down on their faces. It's a fearful thing to stand before God. So he says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. The work out your salvation is about carrying it to completion. Just so we know, it's not about earning our salvation, not about keeping our salvation. It's about once you're saved, what are you going to do with it? And the third thing I want you to get is there's a lot of comfort in this verse, right? So we know that they're good character people, that the command, they should work out their salvation. And then the third point is that God works in you. And what a comfort, right? So, Christian, work out your salvation with fear and trembling, but it's not all on you. God is going to work through you for his will, for his good pleasure. So, a couple of questions now just to think about. Maybe the first question, why is it important that we obey God even when nobody's looking? What does that say about us, and what should it? Second, why is it comforting to know that God works through us and in us, and it's not all on ourselves?